Dr. Geyser's remarkable raft ride is the unique river rapids ride at Storyland. Unlike most rapids rides that use large and turbulent rapids to soak guests, Dr. Geyser's takes a different approach. This attraction uses, as the name suggests, a series of geysers, plus a variety of well-themed sprayers. But how does it compare to the other rapids rides out there? Find out in this review of Dr. Geyser's. Intamin introduced the River Rapids ride in the 1980s, and they had a monopoly on the genre for much of the decade. In 1988, Hopkins debuted their first River Rapids ride in Rattlesnake River at Wonderland in Amarillo, Texas. But that ride had two key differences from the Intamin ones that preceded it. First, it had a much gentler course with barely any rapids. Second, it had a lower height requirement of just 36 inches because of those milder waters. That second item caught the eye of Storyland. This New Hampshire children's park had previously worked with Hopkins on the Polar Coaster, and the park was looking for a water ride. And the Hopkins raft ride was just what the doctor ordered. So for the 1989 season, Storyland debuted their first River Rapids ride in New England in Dr. Geyser's remarkable raft ride. Like Rattlesnake River, Dr. Geyser's has a fairly peaceful trough with barely any rapids. There are only a handful of rapids, and at most, they'll just send a sprinkle into the boat. So Storyland got creative how to get guests wet. Dr. Geyser is a fictional character created for the ride, and he will write guests a prescription for H2O. Dr. Geyser has various methods to get guests wet: misters, sprayers, and geysers. There are three advantages to this approach. One, several of them hit the entire raft, so you're guaranteed to come off wet. There's nothing worse than queuing for a rapids ride on a hot day, only to come off bone dry. Two, the effects are set up such that your shoes will come off dry. The one thing I dread with water rides is getting my shoes soaked. Rapids rides are notorious for this, when they send cascades of water into the raft. Wet shoes make for an unpleasant experience the rest of the day as you sploosh and slosh around the park and possibly get blisters. Most effects on Dr. Geysers are designed that they'll hit your upper body instead, which is where I want to get wet. 3. Every single sprayer is themed. The whimsical appearance of the effects fits Storyland perfectly. And even better, the attraction area around it is paired with one of the most underrated amusement park soundtracks out there. The Dr. Geyser's melody is simplistic, but it's infectious and cheerful. I love it. Despite the fancy sprayers, Dr. Geyser's has a more basic queue house, mimicking the Victorian architecture of an old doctor's office, and you may spend some time in there. Each raft seats up to 6 riders, and unfortunately, Dr. Geyser's is not a fast loader. Unlike most rapids rides that feature continuous load platforms to give boarding guests a sense of urgency, Dr. Geyser's has a small, stationary load platform. Add in the fact that a lot of kids struggle to fasten their own seatbelts, and this one will send out rafts at a much slower pace than other rides like it. Hopkins would add moving load platforms to their future rapids rides, but their first two did not have this feature. Dr. Geyser's does have a separate unload platform at least, so new guests can start the boarding process as soon as the raft enters the station. If the entire indoor queue section is filled, the queue will take roughly 15 to 20 minutes. If the entire outdoor queue line is filled as well, you'll have to wait roughly a half hour. I recommend heading to Dr. Geyser's first thing in the morning, when it's usually a walk-on, because it almost always will have one of the longest lines in the park later in the day. Once dispatched, you slowly head towards the ride's largest rapid, which again is tiny. It will only send a small little wave into the boat, not enough to get you wet. But it's at this moment you pass the camera. Except this old-fashioned camera won't take your photo. Instead, it surprises guests with a gentle stream of water. It's probably the least wet effect on the ride, but it's still fun. The first turn takes place under the rain machine. This is an ornate set piece, and sprinklers from the cloud above your head send a refreshing drizzle onto guests. The next straightaway features another small rapid, and then you pass a small fire station. There, the fire marshal and his trusty Dalmatian aim their hoses directly at you. This effect emits a moderate stream, but it doesn't always hit. Instead of being continuous, the effect goes off in 2 pulses, and the raft sometimes passes in between those squirts. After another small rapid, you pass a man bathing in a tub. Now you'd think this is where the effect goes off, but it's just a distraction. These 2 little ducks hidden in the bushes next to the bathtub shoot a thin and forceful jet of water towards guests. My dad hated those ducks when he used to have to take me on this ride. After a calm turn, you head towards the water tower, which of course has a few holes in it, which sends a few weak jets of water into the raft. You then pass 3 consecutive geysers. While they shoot high into the air, they aren't timed well enough to soak guests. At most, you'll just get a light misting. But don't worry, Dr. Geysers gets his revenge later in the ride. You then pass a bandstand, and the tuba player shoots another small jet of water into the boat. You then head into Dr. Geyser's mystical water source, which is a misty cave. This cave feels super refreshing on a hot summer day, but it does have a dank smell to it due to all the mist. And the music that plays during this section matches that smell perfectly. At this point, everyone is probably moderately wet, but the finale is where you can get soaked. There are 3 more geysers. The first occurs right in front of the boat, but it's just a distraction. Shortly thereafter, an evil geyser goes off behind the boat that I call the spinner. The spout rotates as it comes out of the water. It will always send a good amount of water into the raft, but sometimes it will launch right up against the raft, and when that happens, the person adjacent to that geyser will come off absolutely soaked. The third geyser occurs right before the unload platform, and it gives a nice splash to roughly half the raft. Dr. Geysers thankfully ends things with a bang with those 2 geysers. So what would I rate Dr. Geyser's remarkable raft ride? I would give this unique rapids ride an 8 out of 10. This ride is different, but different is a good thing. It's a refreshing ride and a refreshing change of pace from the other rapids rides out there. I like how this one gets you wet. The thematic sprayers all look great, and the ride focuses on getting your upper body wet as opposed to wrecking your shoes. Most people come off comfortably wet, but occasionally you can get soaked depending how those final 2 geysers hit. This is the best water ride at Storyland and a ride I highly recommend when you visit the park. So those are my thoughts on Dr. Geyser's remarkable raft ride at Storyland. What are your thoughts on this rapids ride? How do you think it compares to the more traditional rapids rides out there? If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.